Now, it's been numerous months ever since we got Indiana Jones 5, The Dial of Destiny, starring Harrison Ford, Phoebe Waller-bridge, among others, and we know that that movie was definitely a box office failure for Disney. Bob Iger tried to cover it up. He really tried to string along his audience throughout the overall process of releasing this movie, overly stating how this movie was going to make $1 billion at the box office worldwide. Now, we know that Phoebe Waller-bridge is what I like to call a part of the group, the Insufferables. You know, you got BRIE LARSON in there, Jimmy Kimmel, Peter Dinklage, and a whole lot more that we can actually add in there as well. But we know that there's a lot of things happening right now with Phoebe Waller-bridge creating elements of Bond 26, the next James Bond movie, as well as the reimagining of Lara Croft Tomb Raider. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, one thing that you may or may not know about Phoebe Waller is that she endlessly tried to get into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, going through auditions, going through multiple conversations with Kevin Feige and some of the Disney heads, failure after failure, not obtaining a role, and of course you had those like BRIE LARSON and Tatiana obtaining roles as Captain Marvel and She-Hulk. Now, Phoebe was able to comment on specifically BRIE LARSON and Tatiana, but focusing a little bit more on BRIE, and you can see how there seems to be some kind of dynamic of Phoebe having or holding a grudge of some kind against actresses like BRIE that actually don't really take a lot of pride in what they're involved in. So let's get into all of this. Now, one thing about all of this is that with actress Phoebe Waller-bridge currently becoming more vocally active about her concerns in Hollywood and where it's going, one thing that she had to deliver was with her failed attempts at becoming a part of the MCU and her comments about BRIE LARSON. She went on to deliver the following. As a creator and as an actress, I feel many established actresses never realize that what they have in the moment and focus too much on what they don't have. I mean, I have done many auditions and really tried to become a part of the Marvel Universe. I even had conversations with Kevin Feige, but it never worked out in the long run. But when you have actresses like BRIE LARSON and Tatiana Maslany, they just don't seem to take pride in what they have been a part of and focus too much on their losses. I mean, hey, I would love to have been Captain Marvel. Who doesn't want to be the most powerful superhero in the universe who happens to be a woman? I think those like BRIE LARSON get too overconfident in themselves and in their roles, and they feel they deserve better, and I think even if I was in one film for the MCU, I would be happy enough. Sometimes you need to know when to not say dumb things online, because you know that just lasts forever and ever. Now guys, let me just say one thing quick. Now, we know that BRIE LARSON got very bitter about how she lost her Captain Marvel sequel. We talked about this endlessly. I don't know if you guys remember the E.T. interview where they were talking with BRIE LARSON and they're like, oh, can you expect a sequel? And she's like, oh, I don't know if they want me anymore. You know, she got really bitter about how Disney was treating her and her role as Captain Marvel. Now, we already know that the sequel is completely axed. It is no longer happening. This is why it was removed from Disney's announcement schedule, which, by the way, is going to take place during the first week of November during Bob Iger's earnings call. He's going to be updating us on a lot of things about Star Wars, Marvel, and just Disney in general. We're going to be learning more about the Disney lineup as well. This actually includes the Hercules remake, something to do with Lilo and Stitch, and updates on Sword in the Stone. Yeah, I know, nobody's looking forward to that, but Phoebe Waller-bridge, I'm not defending her at all in the least, but do you guys feel that her making these comments about BRIE LARSON, it kind of just goes to show you that they begin to eat their own? They always eat each other in the long run in the Hollywood bubble. I mean, that's just a fact. You know, and I think that really proves a point that I brought up a couple of weeks ago, that when you see, you know, those in Hollywood that are a part of a specific group, they seem very tight with each other, they really almost come across as a front, because it eventually falls apart in the long run when there's any kind of disruption in how they believe in things. Now, we know that Phoebe Waller thinks of herself as a creator. She created the show Fleabag, and now she's on to creating a full-on reimagining of Tomb Raider aka Lara Croft, or whatever it's going to be called on Amazon. This is going to be just as bad, by the way, as the Rings of Power, just to give you guys a little bit of a clue about where Amazon is taking things. They really are going to destroy the source material. They're going to flip-flop things. They're going to do a lot of swapping. They're also going to make it a very diverse series in order to just focus more so on agenda-driven nonsense rather than proper storytelling. But let's get into this further, okay? So she goes on to elaborate, and as an actress, you would think one would be smart about not biting the hand that feeds you. She's talking about Larson. Until it's over and done with, yeah? So I have had my fair share with Disney, and I am focusing on Bond 26 right now with Barbara, and Amazon has given me the greatest opportunity to work on a reimagining of Lara Croft. I promise everyone it will be the most diverse series in a long time in this business, that I think it will serve as a symbol of the new normal for what Hollywood needs to become in the end. But to those actresses that got the chance to play major roles in Marvel, I see no reason to complain or feel you are above everyone else in this business. Perhaps those like Brie and Tatiana need to learn what they have in this world and to not become so full of themselves after obtaining those roles. We tend to see this a lot in the film industry, and it can get exhausting, even as a creator or a writer such as myself. Now, look, we know that Phoebe Waller-bridge, and I've said this many times, is just as insufferable as Brie Larson, Rachel Zegler, Amber Heard, Peter Dinklage, Jimmy Kimmel, and a lot more on that list. I call them the insufferables. I've said this many times, but the thing that I don't like about Phoebe Waller is she's being hypocritical. She herself has done the same exact thing that Brie Larson did before in the past, and she literally did this with Indiana Jones 5, The Dial of Destiny, making it like she was above everyone else after obtaining that role and getting that role established in the Indyverse, if you even want to call it that, whatever, the Indiana Jones franchise. And we can see that, this is a fine example of how they eventually eat their own. Now, we know that Phoebe Waller has been quite bitter after not getting those roles in the MCU. She did get roles in Star Wars, as L337, and she was supposed to get a big return to that role in the Lando series, which, by the way, just to give you an update, is now a Lando Calrissian movie, which just sounds like a snore fest. That's just my opinion on things, guys. It does not need to be a movie. A series even, I don't even feel it deserves to be a show. You can throw Lando in a show that serves as a side character. I don't think we need a whole show focused on him. If you want to make a show about perhaps smugglers and include him in the mix, that's fine. That would be a better approach. But the thing about this is that you have Phoebe Waller, you got Brie Larson, you got Tatiana, she's another insufferable, by the way, and among others that just go against each other, and this is just typical Hollywood, and it really never ends, even after the strikes. And we know that the SAG strike is going through a lot of negotiations today. It's very likely that it may end by the end of this year, maybe even before. It really all depends on today and the rest of the week. So anyway, guys, drop a comment below. Fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.